Um, are we waiting on other members still? We are. Am I missing any other people here?
So while we're waiting, Senator, you and I spoke about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Um, I mentioned to the governor the interest of potentially he coming to Ireland for a visit, and he was very open to it.
Oh, good.
And I told him, which he already knew, or at least his staff member present knew, that there's a certain protocol and that you'd be the man to make it work.
Thank you once again, Tony. You always manage to give me a job whenever we talk, so thank you.
Well, actually,
you want something done, give it to a busy man.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway.
Well, good morning, members. I'd like you to welcome you to the July 8th Connecticut-Ireland Trade Commission meeting. Thank you all for joining us. Remarks by the chairs, I have none at this point. Loretto, do you have any remarks you'd like to make?
Not really. We got a message this morning, and we were notified that Senator Looney's pick, Dorinda Border, has resigned. So I think we need to talk about how do we handle that? Are we electing somebody else to fill that position, or talk to Senator Looney?
Certainly, yeah. That's Senator Looney's appointment, and I'm sure he and his staff will make sure that that goes properly.
Okay.
The next item on our agenda is obviously the introduction of Senator Mark Daly. Senator, thank you for joining us. Senator Daly is first elected to the Irish Senate in 2007 and has successfully been reelected since. Senator Daly is the chair and a founder of the American
I lost sound there. Did anybody else lose sound? Oh, yeah.
Hello.
I'll start again, I believe, then.
Oh, yeah.
It was just unmuted for 2 seconds.
Oh, okay, for 2 seconds. Well, Senator Daly also has a degree from the Harvard University in senior management, and I welcome Senator Daly and thank you for his time speaking with us. I'll open the floor to Senator Daly and have him give his remarks, and from there we will have questions from our committee and have a nice discussion. Thank you, Senator Daly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all the members of the Connecticut-Ireland Trade Commission. We now have 25 states of trade commissions, and this is about Ireland being a gateway to Europe for US states, now that our nearest neighbour has decided to leave its largest trading partner and handed us a huge advantage in terms of being the largest English-speaking country left in the European Union. But also the Trade Commission is all Ireland, so it includes Northern Ireland. So it's unique in the sense that you also have the Commission interacting with, and we'll assist on that in terms of interacting with agencies in Northern Ireland and the government in Northern Ireland on having opportunities for businesses in Connecticut in accessing the European market, but also the UK market, which is obviously only doable from Ireland. And I suppose briefly what we do and what we'd hope you do is, as well as the governor coming along with yourselves and the trade commissioners and members of the American Irish State Legislators Caucus, which now has leadership in all 50 states and has over 3,000 state legislators involved. Obviously, it's open to everyone, those who have Irish heritage and those who are supporters of Ireland. And Chris, Senator Dodds would be interested to know that many of them have graduated from state politics, although I understand that state politics is getting more done now than in Washington, where about 10,000 bills were passed in the last 6 months, whereas in Washington, I don't think you could go into double digits, but I could be corrected on that. But that we have a rota of events which we'd love you to be involved in. So the nearest one, I suppose, is the National Conference of State Legislators Summit is on up in Boston to mark the 50th anniversary of the NCSL. Our Minister for Trade Promotion is going to be at it. You're all invited, obviously. You will receive further correspondence if you haven't received it already. She will be at it. There'll be a meeting of the trade commissioners at that event. with our Minister for Trade Promotion and our state agencies, those who are looking to help Irish companies partner with companies in your state in terms of creating opportunities there, but also those companies who would like to enter the European market of 450 million people and 27 member states, but also what supports Irish agencies can give to those companies. So that's on the 4th of August. Trade Commissioners meeting at 4 o'clock, the annual meeting of the American Irish State Legislators Caucus at 5 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock we go to W.T. O'Connor's pub, which happens to be just in the same building. Then every August around the college football event, all the trade commissioners and the state legislators are invited to Ireland. In the days preceding the college football game. This year it's Kansas State and Iowa State, but we have trade commissioners and legislators from 20 states coming, including the governor of South Dakota, and South Dakota has an Ireland Trade Commission. But they're coming a few days beforehand and meeting Irish companies that have big operations in their states, Glanbia being one of them. They provide or produce in the United States, they don't import it from Ireland, a quarter of all the cheddar cheese in the United States. So for every 4 blocks of cheese you eat, probably one of them was made by an Irish company in the United States. And that's every August and it's game 0 in the college football. And this year also in September we have the NFL game. So again, trade commissioners and legislators in the American Irish State Legislators Caucus are invited to that. And then every spring in May we have the Global Economic Summit held in Killarney, all politics being local politics, as Tip O'Neill used to say. And again, the trade commissioners invited to participate in that. And around that then meet with our agencies and also companies who are looking to expand their operations, and obviously our airline industry as well, because of the connectivity that we love to have with US states. So that's a brief synopsis. We're also going to have online meetings with our Minister for Higher Education, who's a cabinet member, and he is working with an Irish company that graduates 8,500 people a day all around the world for free. They don't pay for that 3rd level qualification, but what it does, it helps states with skill shortages, but also does the online training for them. And some of the US states are taking that up. So, Mr. Chairman, that's a kind of a brief outline of the events that we will be doing, but also we're very anxious to do education partnerships, and we're doing that with West Virginia, where their neuroscience department have come up with a repurposing of what would be basically a treatment for Parkinson's, which was featured on 60 Minutes. So I might share that with you. They repurposed it for addiction. I call it end-stage addiction. So it's like where you've tried everything, 12 steps, 28 days, you've done it all and nothing's working. This treatment is 100% successful. So we're working with West Virginia University in terms of how do we, with our university here, Neuroscience Department, University College Dublin, and then how do we bring that to the European Union and be the gateway for West Virginia and that. So there's a whole range of outcomes that we want to see out of this. But what we love is the fact that there's so many people who have so much experience on the Connecticut-Ireland Trade Commission. And any ideas you have, we'd love to hear them. We'd love to bring them to fruition, because this is not this is about outcomes. This is really what we want to see in growing the relationship between Ireland and Connecticut.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you very much for those words. Are there questions from any of the members to start a discussion?
You know, I always.
Marty Dunleavy.
Senator.
How are you doing?
How are you? It's a pleasure to see you, and thank you for making time for us. Let me ask the tough question.
Oh.
Can you give us an update of how folks are reacting to the potential tariff question that's both affecting American companies, but also obviously affecting Ireland and other European countries?
I mean, Ireland is lucky to be part of the European Union bloc, so we negotiate as a bloc, and we have 56 trade agreements negotiated on our behalf over the last 50 years with different entities and organizations and countries. And this is a negotiation. It's not quite the normal way of doing negotiations, but it's a negotiation, and the extension of the deadline is helpful. And I think there will obviously be a resolution, I think, but it has to work for everybody. But we've gone through Brexit, which was a serious effect on Ireland's economy, because like the US is a huge trading partner, but Britain is a huge trading partner for a lot of our farm produce, and it has had a huge effect. And we negotiated through that with the help of the United States. So it is certainly a challenge, but we're hopeful that it will be resolved. And I think I think with everybody sitting around the table, I think it will be, but it is certainly a challenge. But there's a lot of issues like pharmaceuticals, Kerrygold butter, to name but a few, Irish whiskey. We have certain interests that we believe need to be protected, and we're fighting our corner in the European Union to make sure that that's part of a resolution that we can all agree on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I believe Rep. Meskers has his hand raised and he is online with us.
Rep. Meskers, can you unmute?
Sorry about that. That was a struggle. My question, what would be very helpful, I think, for our Trade Commission is to get an idea of best practices or best or most successful legislative efforts across the other states that have spurred incremental trade relationships or academic exchanges. So it'd be good, I'm sitting as co-chair of commerce, but I'm also on the insurance committee. And we're, as a federal system on the insurance committee, many times we get to see what we call umbrella laws, which are basic frameworks. So I guess within the states where you have established trade relationships, some of the initiatives that you've seen that have been the most successful, it'd be good for us to get an idea of where we should be mimicking existing policy as well as whatever new initiatives we're thinking of. And I just wanted your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think that's a good question, and like I can share with you, like we had the West Virginia crew over here, and I promise not to do this to you when you come over. We had 21 meetings on one day inside in my office with everybody from the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade. I even lined up the president for them, and universities. And like in terms of outcomes, and this again goes back to legislative outcomes. One of the parliamentarian for West Virginia used to be in the DA's office, and he and Allison, the company that does the 8,500 graduations a day around the world, he said, well, if we bring in a piece of legislation that instead of going to court or going to jail, that the person would be given an opportunity for home confinement with an online education course. Now, Allison wouldn't be the only provider of that, but they're going to draft up a piece of legislation that would give the judges in places like Connecticut that you could borrow that piece of legislation, use that, and say that's a better outcome, or one of the options. And another company, which is an Irish company, Randox, which does blood testing, they can, with one extraction of blood or one blood sample, they can test for 80 different elements, cancer, all the way through to diabetes. And again, there's a big backlog in West Virginia in terms of its court systems. They're waiting on results. It's cheaper and far more efficient, but also waiting not only in the court system, but in their university hospital system, because 80% of the healthcare in West Virginia is provided by the University of West Virginia. So again, a far more efficient and cost-effective way for them. So we will be sharing those draft pieces of legislation with you. And then in terms of South Dakota, There's a version of, I'll call it CERN here in Switzerland, where they clash neutrons against neutrons and protons against protons. And the governor of South Dakota, who I met, Senator Rounds, now he's former governor, spent 38 million on this project in South Dakota, a mile underground, 380 miles of tunnels, and partnering with the University College Dublin with their neuroscience department, with their science department on collaborating research and then outcomes. And a lot. So obviously, this is about not about keeping initiatives to ourselves. The idea of the Ireland Trade Commission is, oh, that's a great idea. We'd like to borrow that. Like, it's all about not keeping projects or concepts to yourselves. It's about sharing them because it gives better outcomes. But then how do you turn, and then looking at how you can turn that into, we'd say, economic outcomes and projects and hopefully new industries and new ideas. So they are the ideas, and we'll be delighted to share those with you as well. And also any connections, because Ireland's like Connecticut. You're always like 2 phone calls away from somebody. If I don't have the number, Tony has the number, or Tom has the number. So everybody is there. So if you want a meeting, if there's a particular issue that is of concern to Connecticut that is being raised at the European Union, I'm setting up a special committee in our Senate called the State Relations Committee, which would basically flag something that might be of concern before that's being proposed in the European Union, and say, here's what's being proposed. If there's something of concern, this is going to be discussed at a European Council meeting where all the cabinet members for finance or agriculture or transport are going to be at it. And you say, well, look, that's going to cause Connecticut some problems. We can be the voice for you at that table. So the governor, lieutenant governor, the Senate president we can arrange phone calls with your state leadership. And so the guy who's at the table at the European Union level would be able to raise those concerns directly.
Okay, that's very helpful. I think from the point of view of what we can do in mimicking other states to improve our relationship. And also, I don't want to speak for our chair, but if there are any obstacles, particularly that Irish companies are finding in doing business with Connecticut, I think you can count on us as being the spearhead on that to solve those issues.
Well, no, and thanks for saying that. We have I don't know, did we share with you, but we have literally a 2-pager, which is the chief executive of the American Ireland Chamber of Commerce, his email address and his cell phone number. The head of our version of Select USA, Industrial Development Authority, a biography on him, his cell phone number and his email address. So you can literally ring the boss. Any of the commissioners can ring the person who's in charge of our agencies and our university sector, so that you can, bring projects and ideas to them on collaboration and partnership. So I'll share that list with you as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I believe Representative O'Day is online and has a question for the senator.
Yes, I want to thank Representative Meskers for asking that question. That was right in what I was leading towards. And with regard to, I had some people already reaching out to me about how do we get involved in exporting to Ireland and then to the European Union. And I guess it's the IDA.
Yeah, so actually he's in. Dave Fergal O'Rourke is the chairman of the IDA. So he's in for lunch on Monday. I'm hosting him for lunch along with some leadership from US states. I think we have 12 different US states coming in as part of the Ireland Trade Commission and the American Irish State Legislators Caucus. So if you want them to email you, email me. I'll copy him in it, and then we're away to the races, because that's how Ireland works. It's not like I'll give you some guy who's in charge of North America. No, I'll give you the guy, All
right. Thank you very much, Senator.
Thank you, Senator. And any of the contact information would be greatly accepted. I'm sure that our clerk can handle that as well. Are there other questions? Patty, Ms. Lashane?
Hi, welcome, Senator. I had a question. Several years ago, Connecticut was having difficulty recruiting nurses, and I wasn't formally engaged in the legislature as a lobbyist, and we represented a company that opened up our licensure and certification to allow for an Irish trained nurse to come take a few courses. Is that what you're talking about in the higher ed arena?
That can be that's certainly something that we can work with and share like information on what's available, but no more than yourselves. We're we're training nurses, and then they're all heading to Australia or Dubai because we spend a fortune of money training doctors because they don't have to pay like their annual cost of their tuition is about $14,000, and then they head off with their 250,000 education after a few years, and then they head to Australia, and that's the last we see of them. So we are having a skill shortage, but then there's great opportunities and collaborations with our universities who do the nurses training, in terms of there might be specific areas that they would like to go and get the training in, whether that's cancer research or others. So I think there is opportunities in terms of we like to see them go abroad and get extra experience. We'd like them to come back. They don't always come back, but I think it's important that people would get the opportunity. So I'd love to collaborate with you on that.
Could I ask another follow-up question? There's a local company in Connecticut that does a lot of virtual reality training, particularly in upskilling healthcare individuals. Is virtual reality something that's part of the higher ed culture?
No, it's not, but that sounds very interesting. And it might be something that if you had any information on it, I could ask the CEO of Allison to see is that something that they might develop as part of what they offer in terms of their training, but also our university sector as well, because I haven't heard of it, to be honest with you, but I think it would be something that we could champion over here in Ireland as something that should be done across the European
I run
Union.
that through the clerk. Okay, great. Thank you, Senator.
Now, I have 6 minutes before the bell goes. I don't want anyone to get alarmed to think the building has gone on fire. But when the bell goes here, I have to go into the chair and say a prayer and do a minute of silent reflection to make sure we get the day off to the right start. But I am over in Connecticut. I'm supposed to go to Alabama to the Southern Legislators Conference, and then I'm in New York on Wednesday. Let me look at this. I think that's Wednesday the 22nd. And I was on to Bob Duff. I get my schedule here. I was on to Bob about going up to Connecticut on either the 24th or the 25th. Now, nobody wants to be in a meeting on a Thursday or Friday, but if it worked for anybody, and I might work with the chairman or with Bob as well, and if you happen to be around, I'll be heading up towards Boston to the NCSL anyway. But if you were around a Thursday or Friday, or there was something that suited you all, I'd love to sit down with you and meet you again and have a cup of coffee, or an Irish coffee without the coffee.
Thank you, Senator. And I believe Loretta O'Leary, co-chair, is online and has a quick question for you.
Loretta.
Hi, thank you, Emmett, and hi, Senator Daly. Thank you so much for clarifying the question about the Pen Island Ireland situation. There was a question about that in the beginning, whether we should do Republic of Ireland or Northern Ireland separate, but it's Pen Island, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And that would go across the board for education and business, trade, and all of it. Wonderful. Yeah. I'm wondering if you would suggest us looking at the New Jersey Ireland Trade Commission, because they seem to have, liaised with two other groups that have made it quite successful, and we already have two similar groups in Connecticut, so it's like a triangle of work there. So in New Jersey, the commission's at the top, but in our situation, we'd be at the top, and then we'd liaise with the Advanced Connecticut and the Irish Connecticut Business Council. Do you think that's a good model, or is there?
Yeah, I mean, each state has its own structures, and I think it's a way of finding what suits you. But like what we like to have is an anchor event. So like the governor coming over, with a delegation is great. But what we want you to be aware is that every year the trade commissioners will get invited to Ireland in August, and if only 3 or 4 can come, they can plug into the trip to Northern Ireland includes a visit to meeting with business leaders at the Titanic Museum, meeting with the education leaders, meeting the people involved in the ending paramilitarism in Northern Ireland, which is very important because that's still an issue. Believe it or not, there's still 10,000 paramilitaries in Northern Ireland. They're not all active. There's only a few hundred active, but they're all involved in criminality and drug dealing and racketeering. And then we bring them to Stormont to meet the leaders up there. So that's every August. And then they come here. This year they'll be going to Deerfield, the ambassador's residence, for meetings with IDA Enterprise Ireland, and then to the Parliament to meet with our parliamentary leaders. So that's every August. So what the idea behind that for the Commission is, it's a huge amount of work to organise a delegation, the hotels, the buses, who you're meeting. What you can be sure of is that in August, there's a set agenda, and any member of the Commission in Connecticut is welcome to come and be part of that. So next year, it's Texas University, Christian University are playing North Carolina. Notre Dame are playing Navy in Ireland in 2030. I think you should all come for that one. But at least there's an anchor date every year. And if you want to come separately, that's great. But I think sustainability of the Commission is about activity. So we will always have our annual meeting at the National Conference of State Legislators, wherever that happens to be in America. We'll have our events in Killarney with the Global Economic Summit, and then we'll have other events throughout the year online. So it is all Ireland, just to be clear on that. We organise the itinerary. So if you want to break away and say, hey, we're going to go off and meet this company or our companies that we're bringing with us, as the companies are welcome to come as well as part of the trade commissions in August or any other time.
Thank you. And if you are in Connecticut on the 24th or 25th, just let me know.
I'll send you an email. I think it's the Thursday and the Friday, so whatever might work for the group. But now, we don't need to sit down inside it. That's not the fire alarm now. That we don't have to sit down inside in a hall. If we had a place near the state capitol and there was an Irish pub nearby, we could go up there after.
Priorities.
Our priority in that order, or we could do it the other way around, but the meeting could get a bit ropey then.
That would be great. So yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for that, and thank you for joining this meeting and giving us so much information.
Senator, I don't know if you have 2 minutes left, but I'm just curious.
I have. Well, you see, now the thing is, Senator, the thing with that is they can't start the thing without me. So until I show up, nothing's going to happen.
I won't bore you with it now, but I'll tell you a story sometime about a senator, a United States senator, who was very on in years. And the ad against him when he was up for re-election was, he's too slow to get around anymore. And the senator ran the same ad. They ran against himself, showing how slowly he was getting off a plane in Spokane, Washington. But the tagline was, he may be slow, but the meetings don't start until he gets there.
Well, that's the same.
It's a sort of a broader question. I mean, this is. Today we know, and I think you're pointing out about the number of lead bills introduced and acted on in our state legislatures, which is encouraging and optimistic. But the polarization of politics is obviously an issue. And to what extent have you avoided that kind of an issue in Ireland itself, in terms of back and forth and who's in control of various governmental agencies and so forth? Does that present any kind of a problem that you can identify, and if so, how are we dealing with it? And if not, then it's nice to know.
Yeah, I mean, in Ireland, I get this. There's very few people appointed to state agencies by the members of the cabinet or the incoming administration. It's the permanent government, we call it. We give out about it a lot because they're the guys who are always there and sit us out and wait out initiatives. And then there's upsides and downsides to that, obviously, because when you see agencies being taken over, and then a lot of changes that are lacking, I suppose, in long-term thinking and strategization, and that's the same in any organization. I suppose that's an issue. But one of the big problems we're having it here is housing is a huge issue, and then you have mass migration or international protection and refugees. We've the same issue here as they have all over Europe, and that's causing a lot of, we'll say, resentment within communities, and therefore, some polarization. So it's a problem. It's a global problem. It needs a global solution. And, no country can solve, the fact that there are 3 times as many conflicts as there was when you were helping out in the Good Friday Agreement. 3 times as many, which is causing 3 times as many refugees in the middle of a housing crisis where there's nearly 2 billion more people in the world today than there was 30 years ago. So, this is not a problem that you have alone. We all have the same problems. We just need to work together. And that's the idea of the commission, is to have, ideas shared, and then see how we can work together on best practice, but best outcomes for everybody, all the citizens.
Good. Thank you very much.
Right. I definitely have to go now. I'm going to send you an email. I'll be there on Thursday and Friday. So whatever works for you, I'll be there. Maybe Friday morning. Nobody wants a meeting Friday afternoon, because let's be honest, it'll only end up in the Irish pub till Saturday morning.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Daly, and thank you for your time. And we wish you the best, and we look forward to seeing you in the end of the month.
All right. God bless.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Well, thank you very much. And we'll move on to the next item on our list, and that is a discussion or any continuation of discussion from our previous meeting last month. If there's any other discussion of our mission statement or anything that any members may want to include, or is this mission statement acceptable to all the members? We've had a chance to review it. Is there a comment or anyone that would like to make a comment with regard to the mission statement, or can we accept it?
Move we accept the mission statement as submitted.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
And seconded by Ms. Lashane.
Could I make
Wait a second. Yeah.
A comment by Ms. Lashane? Yes.
I would assume as we kind of learn what the Trade Commission can do, that we could modify it if something came up. Great.
Certainly, and that's a great suggestion idea. And obviously this commission is new and we are creating it, and it's been founded, but we certainly will expand and change as we grow. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And I believe that it's it, unless anyone else has.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. I apologize, Professor.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the mission statement since the last meeting. I apologise, but just given that we learnt today it is an all-Ireland relationship, does the mission statement reflect that?
I believe it does. With Ireland, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the membership? Seeing none. Thank you very much. And
Well, just briefly, if I may.
Yep, certainly, Representative Lene.
Yes, so we've got the good Senator Dodd here, who's got some experience with dealing with Ireland. Is there, and I'd love to have a in-person meeting with Senator Dodd across the street at the Officers Club. But Rob Sweeney, a good friend of mine, worked for you, Senator Dodd, many years ago, and fellow Providence College grad. So I'm just wondering what words of wisdom, advice for the committee that you can give us as a closing remark here before we take off. I'm looking forward to seeing you in person, Senator.
There we go. I'm sorry. Can you hear that now?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Well, listen, I'm grateful to the governor and Member Riley and others. Many of you I know, obviously, from previous involvement with each other. I think the important element in all of this, that if I heard one thing in the conversation that I find most encouraging, is an idea that this is an all-Ireland approach. It's not, historically, you'd have an awful lot of difficulty. I remember going back when Jean Kennedy Smith was the ambassador to Ireland, and she made the unforgivable mistake, although it was intentional, to actually involve herself in the north of Ireland as well during those years. It was met with a lot of hostility, even in the United States. Admiral Crowe was the ambassador of the United States in the United Kingdom at that moment, and was rather upset over Jean Kennedy Smith involving herself in Northern Ireland issues with the Republic. But I would say in retrospect, it took leadership that she demonstrated to ability to kind of do that. So one of the encouraging signs I see, and I'm glad, Christine, you asked the question as to whether or not the mission statement included that. It clearly is, it's a reflection of what occurred now many years ago, but is still working very well and pushing towards that goal, obviously. And it stays away from the political question of a united Ireland, but that will ultimately come to the people of both the North and the Republic as to which way they want to go and all of it. But it's a very different place today in terms of looking at these issues than was the case. And in fact, on a lot of issues, Ireland is, when I think of it, on certain laws, not by judicial decision, but by resolution and votes of the people of the Republic of Ireland have taken positions on a number of issues that frankly would be almost impossible to imagine occurring almost any other place. But Ireland would have been the last country in the world that many of us would have suggested was a place where issues that have been resolved, at least by referenda. So it offers new opportunities as well. I just always worry about sometimes there is a polarization. Obviously, all of it know it. I was encouraged by the fact that the state legislatures are adopting a lot more legislation and moving. That's encouraging to me. I had not heard that statistic. And that's certainly right. I think the Congress, I think there are like 6 or 7 bills total that have actually been written into law since January 20th. Now, a lot of executive orders and the like. And this is not a political statement, but it's very different. And you're losing members of Congress now who are deciding to retire, both Democrats and Republicans, which I worry about because there is a value in some longevity where people bring their own perspective and knowledge as a result of their experience. So this is going to be the waters are going to be full of political problems, and I think it's just wise we stay attuned to it and find out if there are speed bumps that we ought to be aware of as we approach the various meetings that we've been invited to, which I think are exciting. It's a much better environment on the issue of a united Ireland, without getting into the politics of it, than certainly was the case even a few years ago. And now there are a lot of the people who've moved on, but they're still rather proud of the fact that that various Taoiseachs over the years have embraced this idea, not as aggressively as some of the others, but I find that encouraging as well, because ultimately the economics will play an incredible role, both in our country, in our state, and in Ireland, a united Ireland, economically in that sense. So that's the only thing, Ed, I would add as a comment. I appreciate you asking me to share some thoughts on it. And obviously, we'll have more opportunities in the coming weeks and months to talk about this at further length. George Mitchell, who's one of my dearest friends in the world, obviously did a Herculean job back leading to the Good Friday Accords. He's not well physically, but I think of him often and try to reach him periodically to check on him. And I thought, by the way, Mr. Chairman, and that the Irish ambassador in Washington is a good friend of mine. And I've thought about, with the permission of the committee, might ask her to attend one of our meetings to establish the relationship between our own commission and her office here in Washington. As just a thought and an idea. So that's my only brief comments I'd make to you, Tom, about where things are. But I'm encouraged by this. I think it's exciting. I had no idea that we had as many commissions across the country as there are on Ireland. That's incredible. And I thought it was wonderful to talk about New Jersey. We don't like to talk about New Jersey, but I don't like the fact that they're ahead of us on some of these things. So I think it's doing better. We think of New Jersey as being having a lot more problems than us, but nonetheless, I think it's important to learn what other groups are doing and how they're doing it, and a way of making sure we include people in these conversations to understand it takes some multilateralism, but also crossing ideological and political lines to make it work. And so it's hard sometimes to swim against those waters. I think it'll be critically important if this commission is going to work and be successful, that we have to demonstrate that we can do it despite whatever differences we may have on other matters of politics. And so that's my only suggestion, is we make sure we're not walking into difficult situations in Ireland or in our own community. So I'm excited about being a part of it.
Well, thank you very much, Senator. Thank you for your experience, your knowledge, and everything you bring to this committee or commission. I'd like to take a quick step back. I failed to ask for a voice vote for the adoption of our commission mission. And if we could have a voice vote, and I'd ask that the members online unmute, and I'll ask for a vote at this moment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those nay. And the motion passes. Thank you. I will say that I believe our next meeting will be August 12th is a Tuesday at 10 a.m. here. Also, Senator, we would certainly welcome, obviously, the addition or the ambassador to come and speak to us at her availability when she is available. But that connection would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Or available online.
Yeah, obviously online, I would believe would be the most sufficient way for her to speak to us.
Yeah, I'll do that right away.
Yes, thank you, Senator. And Senator, I'll say one thing. I don't know if you remember, but once a long time ago, you did live in the Rose City, Norwich, and you lived behind me at my parents' house, and you had an Irish wolfhound named Emmett that I once rode as a child. Living on Huntington Street. I don't know if you remember, but I was.
I do, Huntington Place. I know this as well.
And,
that's where my father was born, and he grew up. And Norwich has been an anchor. A good part of my relatives are buried in Norwich as well.
Yes,
over the years. So fond memories of the town, the Rose City, and
as I said,
wonderful memories. And Huntington Place was a great cul-de-sac.
Yes, and like I said, my brothers would always say to me that I was named after a dog. So thank you.
Well, Emmett was a wonderful wolfhound, and he would stand up, and he stood up on his hind legs. He was almost 10 feet tall, and but like a poodle. I mean, they're just the most affectionate creatures. But they're big animals, and hip dysplasia and other factors make it difficult to have longevity. Yes. But Emmett, I still think I have great pictures of him. He was a wonderful dog. So thanks for remembering him, Emmett. I appreciate it. And you were not the source of the naming of him, by the way. And if you were, it's a compliment to you, Emmett.
Absolutely. It's a compliment to that great as well. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Comments, Ms. LaShane?
Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. I signed up to go to the August 4th event in Boston. I was wondering if anybody else was, or
I have. I'll be there as well.
Signed up, but I'm going to go.
Yeah, I will sign up as well. I was supposed to be traveling, but that has now been cancelled. So I'll try and get there as well.
Great. See everybody there.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Colin.
get there.
Yes, Colin O'Neill here. I wanted to report to the committee of an event I attended in New York City. I've attended for a few years. It's the New York, New Belfast Investment Conference. It's a fantastic assembly of business leaders, Belfast Chambers of Commerce, and business leaders from Belfast and the investment community in New York City. They get together every year, and they really highlight the business opportunities in Belfast. The main speaker was Comptroller Tom DiNapoli of New York State, and he has the control of the pension funds from New York State, and they have invested over $110 million in Northern Ireland Growth Fund that supports construction business opportunities in the north. And he reports every year about what a tremendous return on the dollar for the citizens of New York and the retirees of New York. And then there's a big presentation about the future of business in Belfast. And just quickly, they emphasize fintech, financial tech. All these electronic transfers and businesses need a tremendous back office, medical tech, and a lot of research, and also diagnostic testing. And and they highlighted some tests that reduced a diagnostic that would take weeks down to hours. And then also supporting that is what's called security tech. All these things have to be protected with vast amounts of security. So that's their pitch, and they have a young, highly educated workforce. And just thinking of Connecticut and our insurance industry and our technology, my mind was working that way. And I would just hope next year's event, many of us would attend, and we'd reach out to the business communities in Connecticut to attend that. It's at the New York Athletic Club. But I've gone every year. Martin O'Muir, former mayor of Belfast, is the man behind. He's an acquaintance of mine. So I've just been attending that my own personal, way. And so I just wanted to report to that for everyone.
Yes, thank you. A question I would have is would you believe if there's someone involved with that organization that might want to come before us and speak with us?
I could get the head man, Marcin. He's
Sure.
a very close friend of mine. We communicate regularly, and he's interested in, he's well aware of my being appointed here. And actually in his, they had an article in their newspaper, the Belfast Media, when our commission was being formed. They had an announcement, they had an article about it.
Great.
So he's, yeah, I'll reach out to him, and I'd also would like to also maybe get someone from the Napoli staff to highlight the process that they went through to get to where they're at.
That would be wonderful.
I'll
That would be
report back
greatly
to you on that.
appreciated. Yes. Great. Thank you, Colin.
Mr. Chairman, Tony Sheridan here. Before we leave, I'm curious as to if this group is engaged, wants to be engaged, should be engaged in organizing or helping organize a trip for the governor to go to Ireland to meet business leaders and other political leaders.
Is that a question? Have we contacted or have we been in discussions?
Well, it's a compound question, I guess. Is it of interest? Should it be of interest to the committee? I'd be happy to help if there is an interest, but I don't want to get ahead of the committee if there's not.
Certainly, no. That is obviously something we'd be willing to address or to speak with the governor's office about. And I would say also the leadership of both the House and Senate and the General Assembly as well would be appropriate for them to join a trip to Ireland.
Good.
Is that something that obviously other members are in favor of?
Yes.
I would assume. Certainly. So thank you, Tony, for that question. And I can certainly put on a list of things to discuss going forward.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
I know our next regularly scheduled meeting is August 12th, but if we're going to try and informally do something with the senator on the 24th or the 25th, could you just organize that or have staff organize that and let us know where and when? And I'm sure a number of us would love to sit down and talk to the senator.
Marty, we can't hear you. You got to speak into your microphone.
I'm sorry, Chris. I said if Senator Daley is going to be in Connecticut on the 24th or 25th, I was hoping that maybe our staff and our chairs could arrange a meeting with him and let us know, and we all show up and break some bread and have a glass and have an informal meeting with the senator. I thought his presentation today was both informative and delightful, and I would like to it would be great if we could have a more extensive conversation with him.
Yeah, certainly. I believe that we can arrange that, make sure that myself and our administrator can put together a date time when the senator is going to be passing through the state. So I believe that's certainly something we can work on. Any other members with questions or comments at this point? Nobody online? No hands raised. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you soon. And if there are any questions or any ideas or things that may come up in sitting back the next month to discuss, please let me know, and I'll be more than willing to distribute to the committee and the staff. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Emmett, and thank you, Patricia, as well.
Thank you,
Mr.
Loretta.
Chair, just a quick thing. Is there a way to get contact information for members of the committee?
Yes, I will make sure that that is sent out so we can get contact information to the committee of all the members. Is that correct, Representative?
Yes, please, if that's okay.
Certainly. Thank you. Thank you all.